Robert Plank Show, episode 214. HootSuite, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn Demystified. Share content, engage others, and network with social media manager Debbie Peck. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Robert Plank Show. This is the podcast where we talk about making money and marketing your business online. Our guest today is social media manager Debbie Peck, and through her company, Crush Marketing Group, Debbie teaches and inspires people to utilize social media to not only build strong companies, but to create a better world. And Debbie has been working online for over 14 years in all aspects of internet marketing, and she's the creator of Social Media Kindergarten. And as a certified social media manager, a Facebook ads specialist, and an online marketing strategist, Debbie can help you to bring in more leads, bring in more sales, and get more freedom in your business. Debbie's mission is to help coaches, speakers, authors, thought leaders, and entrepreneurs to get their message out in a bigger way. Sounds exciting to me. Debbie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Robert. Thanks so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here, and I'm glad that I invited you. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, all this good stuff. So as far as social media goes, and as far as what you have to tell us today about social media, what makes you unique? What's sort of your different spin on things?
Well, I think one of the things that I do really effectively is I help people demystify social media. I think sometimes people, whether they're new to business or they've been in business for a while, think that social media has to be hard, that it's going to take a lot of time, and sometimes that it's not effective. And I'm here to say that I can show you how to do social media in only 2 hours per week. And it will still be effective for your business. So that's the gist of what makes me different in this online world.
Awesome, and I can't wait to jump in and hear about that 2 hour per week plan. And it sounds to me like that sort of the time limiting aspect sounds like it's really important for social media, because I think that a lot of us have sort of heard about a lot of those stereotypes, like the desperate business owner, like the MLMer type who's always just kind of spamming people, or then you have like the stereotype of like the teenager who's on Instagram like 16 hours a day just trying to impress people, but putting in a lot of time and not getting a lot of results. And so, what should us business owners be doing in order to sort of get the good stuff out of social media, but without it taking up all the time in the day?
Well, Robert, you actually bring up a really good point, and there is a very big difference between social media for business and social media for pleasure and socializing. And I think that that's the distinction that business owners need to take in order to have effective social media and have it really work for their business. Yes, if you do spend 16 hours a day on social media, you're probably going to have lots of friends and lots of fun, but you may or may not grow your business really effectively. So I do have a little plan and a strategy that I'm going to share. The first thing I want to say is that social media is a place where you want to network and create relationships, while at the same time using it as a traffic source for you to distribute and share your content. So I just want to talk a little bit about networking, and just picture if you were going to a networking meeting like the Chamber of Commerce or any of these types of meetings. You're not going to run up to somebody and throw your card in their face and say, "Hey, buy my stuff right now," right?
Right.
You're gonna create a relationship with them. You're going to, maybe chit chat about each other. And if you want to pursue it further, you're going to either invite each other for coffee or to each other's offices or what have you. You're going to do something to further the relationship. And it's the same thing with social media. If all you're doing is sell, 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 sell all the time, people just tune out. They don't want to listen to you anymore. But you can create some really meaningful relationships. And I have friends from all over the world now that I have created really meaningful relationships that I've never even met in person. But these people I would consider to be my good, close friends. So it can be done. And I think that that's the first thing that I want to share with people as part of the strategy. Does that make sense?
It does, and it sounds like, at least as you're describing this, it sounds like, so we don't want to be in, sell, 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 buy my stuff mode, and we also don't want to be in the sort of in the friend zone mode. So how do we how do we build those relationships like those that you've described where where I can get noticed by people and I can make friends, but eventually that leads to some kind of sale? Like, how do we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is totally okay and encouraged to sell on social media. It just has to be done the right way. And how you do that is by setting up a system, a strategy, and a system. And how I do that is you want to be sharing and distributing some of your content. And what that does is it shows that you're an expert in what you do. And when you're putting content out there and showing people, hey, I really know what I'm talking about, check out this article, or here's a free gift, or even sharing other people's content that is either similar to yours or it bolsters your point of view, it shows that you know what you're talking about. And when a person is looking for what you have to offer, who are they going to think of? They're going to think of the expert, you, that is sharing this content. So that's really what it's all about. And how I do that is I uh, set up systems where I do several different things. I schedule posts, I comment on some threads, I go into groups. And it doesn't matter if you're in, on Facebook, or if you're on LinkedIn or Twitter or what have you. You want to reach out to people as well as sharing your content. So, would you like to hear how I do that in 2 hours per week?
Oh yeah, I would.
So basically, what I do is I schedule some content. So that's the first part of it. I use, there's many different things that you can use, but one of the most popular platforms out there is called HootSuite. Now, HootSuite is a platform where you can share and manage your content scheduled out. And I tend to schedule my stuff out about 2 weeks in advance. You can do it longer than that if you want to. I just find that that's manageable for me and my clients. And realistically, I do that once a week. So I'll sit down and I'll take all of the content that I have and, I'll maybe save things up during the week, or I have an assistant, so I get her to do some research for me. If you have an assistant, you can do the same thing, or staff or people like that. But if you're by yourself, I did this for myself and multiple clients without having any staff at all. So it can be done. And I basically gather up all my content, and then once a week, I'll sit down and schedule it. And it doesn't take very long to do that, maybe 30, 40 minutes to schedule it all out for about a week or two. And then once you've got your stuff scheduled, you basically just let it drip out over the week or 2 weeks that you've got things scheduled. Now, once you have that done, you still want to engage on social media. This isn't just about scheduling every single post and then ignoring your followers. That's not what social media is about. As I mentioned, it's about building relationships. So the reason you want to schedule stuff is so that you have the consistency. And what that does is actually shows people your expertise. It gets you in the news feeds, and you've got stuff being, put out there all the time. Imagine if you're traveling or you're busy or you have a full schedule one day and you just don't have time to, really go on and research and find content and post. This sort of ensures that you've got, things popping up in people's news feeds, all the time without you having to do stuff every single day. So that's the first part of it.
Okay, so for that first part, so people should be using Hootsuite to schedule posts about 2 weeks in advance, spend about 30 to 40 minutes every week to do this. And so when you're talking about a week or two worth of posts, I mean, how many posts are we talking about, Debbie? Are we talking like one a day, five a day? I mean, how many are you scheduling here?
Well, it depends on the platform that you're using. So, for example, Facebook requires, I know sometimes people might freak out when I tell you this, but 3 to 5 posts a day. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to schedule 3 to 5 posts a day. I generally sometimes will schedule 2 to 3 posts, and then if you go on and just do a personal update, that's considered a post. Or if you change your photo, that's considered a post. Anytime something comes up in your newsfeed, that's considered a post. So on a Facebook fan page, the people may have noticed that, your stuff isn't being out in the timeline as much as it used to be. So you really have to post quite a bit in order to be noticed. So that's Facebook. Twitter, you're going to need even more. You're probably going to need a minimum of 8 to 10 posts a day. The Twitter newsfeed moves so fast. So, but I've got a little tip for you about how to get all of this content, where to get it from, because people often get a little nervous about that amount of content. But don't worry, I have a plan for you.
Awesome. I'm excited to hear about that. So you said basically that for Facebook 3 to 5 posts a day, for Twitter 8 to 10 posts a day, and so when we're talking about a week of content, I mean, what is that? That comes out to about what, 20 or 30 Facebook posts and about 50 to 70 Twitter posts. So I can completely understand how people are saying, whoa, 50 or 70 Twitter posts or 30 or 40 Facebook posts. I mean, I can completely understand that. Okay, so people are saying that, whoa, this sounds like a lot of stuff, but you are telling us that even though you might be saying 40 posts, it only takes a few minutes, right?
Yeah, and so how we do it is we take content you already have, and all of the business owners that I've ever met out there, you already have a lot of content. You don't need to produce a whole bunch more. You have already blog post articles. A lot of people are producing videos now. Many of you are speakers, and you have speeches, and you have presentations. Some people have books if you're authors. So you have a lot of content already. And in this day and age, you really need to be producing content for your business anyway. So this is stuff you already have in your business. And I'll bet you if you check your hard drive, you have way more than you think you have. So for example, I'll take an average blog post, or let's back that up a little bit more. Let's take a video. So if you shot a video, and you can take that video and have it transcribed. It's actually very inexpensive to have things transcribed nowadays. You have that video transcribed, and now you've got a blog post. You might have to clean it up a little bit, of course, but now you've got a blog post. So you've got two pieces of content out of one thing. Now you take that blog post, and I can, on average, from about a 700-word blog post, pull out about maybe 7 or 8 tweets out of there. Because really, a tweet is just a headline. It's just a sentence, and you just pull a sentence out of there, something that makes sense, some statement that makes sense, right? Add the link to it for that blog post. Now you have a tweet. So it's not that hard to get, if you're doing one blog post article a week, you can pull out lots of tweets from there. Facebook posts, same thing. You take maybe that same tweet, make it into a little bit of a paragraph, add a nice photo, and you've got a Facebook post. So you're just repurposing the content that you already have. You can use that same video as a Facebook post. You can even take that video, if it's a longer video, and chop it up. You can edit it so that it's into smaller segments. So yeah, so that's basically how I do it, is just using the content that you already have, and we just repurpose it into smaller chunks. One piece of article, one article or one blog post or one video goes a long way on social media. You don't need to share the whole thing. You just need to share little bits of it.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it. So what you said is that, so if someone has, for example, a video, they could get it transcribed. That becomes a blog post. You look at that blog post and find 7 or 8 sort of catchy sentences. Those are 7 or 8 tweets that you can drip out, and then out of those tweets, if you can build some of those up into some paragraphs, create a photo, that becomes a Facebook post. You can take a video, chop it up into smaller videos. So I mean, just from that list, I mean, even just without even trying, there are already like 4 or 5 ways to recycle one piece of content into a bunch. So I mean, it sounds amazing so far.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not that hard when you actually look at it that way. Like I say, most people have. When I take on a new client and I ask them for all of their content, I sometimes have a lot of content to be able to move forward with for that particular client. So that's the first part of it, is just sort of looking at what content you already have that you can repurpose, and then setting up your strategy for scheduling posts out for the next week or two. Once you've got all of your posts scheduled out, remember, it's not just about, you know, scheduling posts and then forgetting about the social media. You still need to go on there every day. But you don't have to spend all day on there. You can go on quickly, first thing in the morning, just set a, quick 10-minute check-in. Realistically, if you just went on for 10 minutes in the morning, checked your platforms, and I don't recommend that people go on to more than 2 platforms, 1 or 2 at the most. Most people find out what platform your ideal client is hanging out on, and then that's where you're going to spend your time. If you think, oh, Snapchat is the hot new darling and everybody's doing it and I really need to be there, well, ask yourself, are your clients on Snapchat? If they're not, then you don't need to be there. If you want to go check it out and play around with it and just, see, that's fine. But just know that may or may not be a business building tool for you.
So how do people, like you mentioned there, like, so if you said if someone's particular like ideal client, if they are on Snapchat, then hang out there. If they're not there, don't hang out there. Like, how does someone know like if a certain platform is worthwhile? Is it just a matter of like eyeballing it, or like are there some niches where like a lot of clients will be hanging out on LinkedIn, or like how do people figure out based on what niche they're in where they should be, which platform they should be using?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And sometimes it does take a little bit more investigation, but realistically, if you just look at it logically, LinkedIn is kind of like your boardroom, right? It's a little bit more professional, and that's where, professionals such as doctors, lawyers, engineers, people like that are going to hang out. It's really great for sales. There's high income earners. Typically, the average earner on LinkedIn is about, I think on average, about 150K a year right now, might be 160. So if you're hanging out on LinkedIn, you're probably a B2B, business to business, or in sales of some sort of profession. So that's typically LinkedIn. Facebook is more like hanging out in your local coffee shop. That's where everybody goes to just meet people and hang out, and they share a lot of personal and business stuff. And Facebook's kind of an anomaly in the fact that almost everybody will hang out on Facebook at some point or another. Twitter is kind of like your quick little cocktail party stand-up where you're just quickly throwing out quick little sound bites and moving on to the next table, and then moving on to the next table. So it's very quick. I tend to find that celebrities, very high income earners, CEOs, people like that, tend to hang out and do their own Twitter because it's quick and easy, and it's on their phone, and they can just do a quick little tweet. So that's a little tip if anybody's trying to get a hold of a specific person. Often they do their own Twitter. That's just one of the little tricks that I've learned.
Awesome.
So those are sort of some, quick and dirty guidelines. Obviously, it goes a little deeper than that, but think about who your client is and what type of person they are and where they would typically hang out. And if you're selling to stay-at-home moms, they're probably not hanging out on LinkedIn. I'm not saying they don't, but they're more likely to be on Facebook. So, if you're looking for doctors or professionals, they're going to be on LinkedIn more likely.
Okay, fair enough.
So then what you want to do is just go on, maybe once in the morning, once in the afternoon, whatever suits your schedule, and just go on and do some engagement. And, so engagement is really just interacting with people. So you're going to be liking other people's posts, commenting on other people's posts, sharing, retweeting, that sort of thing. That's where you want to spend time, is engaging with people. Maybe go into some Facebook groups that you're in and comment on some things, share some things. This is where you want to share your in the moment or the up to the date, up to the minute stuff that's what's happening now in the world kind of stuff. The scheduled out stuff is more what we call evergreen content. It could be like anytime. It's not really time specific. or date specific, whereas the stuff you're doing day to day is really, in the moment. Facebook Live has become super popular now, and I would encourage people to give that a try as well. So, once you've been on there for 10 minutes or so, you really don't need to spend all day there. You've done what you're going to do, and then at that point you can get off. And I'll give you a little tip. I use a timer. People laugh at me sometimes, but when you're managing multiple clients, you can't really spend 40 minutes on one guy and 5 minutes on the next guy. It wouldn't be fair. So I actually push the little timer button on my iPhone, and that's what I know. I go on, I do some engagement, I share, I comment, and then timer goes off, boom, I move on. And it's kind of like, it's your choice how long you want to stay on social media, obviously. But think about this. If you have a business meeting, for example, and you go and you've got 45 minutes scheduled for your business meeting, it's in a coffee shop, and you end up spending an hour and a half because you're visiting and just socializing and stuff, that's fine. There's no problem with that, but just be aware that that's your choice. It's the same on social media. If you go on and you start watching cat videos and get into some other things and beyond what you should be doing for business, then that's your choice. But just be aware that's your choice. And my rule of thumb is I go on, I do what I need to do for my business first, and then I look at the time. If I have if I have a little few minutes to keep on there and do some things, then I do that. If not, then I log off, I go away. So that's kind of the rule of thumb that I do.
That makes a lot of sense. There's like the must-have time, those few minutes to do the important things, and if you happen to have the extra time left over, then then feel free to spend it that way. And so you said that, so you set a 10-minute timer or so to do the liking, the commenting, the sharing, the retweeting. And so like, are you trying to hit any certain number of likes or shares in that time, or is it just 10 minutes, whatever you can get done in that time?
Yeah, absolutely. Because really, you're just kind of searching around. And one of the things that I do is I'll try and go find out who the influencers are in my market. And this is something that would be part of your previous preparation and setup and things like that. So I'll go and look at what people are doing in my industry, or maybe there's people that I'm following that I'm interested in them becoming a client, or things like that. And I'll go find those people and comment on their things, share their things, and just sort of, we call it ethical stalking, and sort of find out what they're doing and get them to notice who we are, right? So that's what I do, is I comment on their stuff, and then I just do other people's stuff as well. So that's how I start out, is I look for the influencers or the clients that I'm targeting, and I get them to notice me online.
And sort of along those lines, as far as doing the ethical stalking, or choosing a few people to through those influencers to get to notice you. Like, I've noticed that I do that with a handful of people. Like, there's a handful of definitely internet marketers who are more famous than me that I either want to maybe network with in the future, or people who I want to hop on my podcast in the future. And so what sort of should be my goal there? Should I just keep on liking these people's stuff and maybe just hope that it leads to something? Or how do I go after certain influencers on social media without being annoying, or without being too aggressive?
Right. Well, one of the things is to share their stuff. They love it when you share their content, right? Because it's better for them. So if they've posted a blog post, for example, then if it's something that's good for your audience, then go ahead and share it and say, hey, I just read this great blog post by whoever, Ryan Dice or whoever it is today, and it's got this and this. Check it out, and tag them in the post, and they will notice that you've tagged them. And sometimes they'll come and thank you, or they'll like the post, or what have you. So, but if you share their stuff consistently, they're going to be thankful for that, right? The other thing that you can do, I did this a few years ago. There was a lady that I was interested in working with, and she was in social media, and I really wanted to meet her. And I was living in specific town at the time, and I saw, and so we had been sort of interacting a little bit online, and I saw she was coming to town, and so I sent her a private message, and I was really nervous about it, and I just said, "Hey, we kind of know each other. We've been sort of commenting and liking each other's stuff for a while. I see you're coming to town. I would love to pick you up and take you for coffee." And I thought for sure she would just blow me off and say, "No, I'm too busy," or whatever. And she got back to me and said, "I'd love to." So I was really thrilled. And, you don't get what you don't ask for, right? So,
Right.
so a lot of times, like I offered to pick her up, I offered to take her for coffee. Like, don't ask for something first, offer yourself or offer to give first before you ask to take something. So,
Awesome. I mean that's good advice in general, but especially on social media, especially for trying to trying to climb the up the food chain or climb the ladder, so to speak. And so you have this 2 hour week plan, and so is this more or less the plan of, like, schedule that content so that way you're consistent, and then do this engaging of others? Like, is there anything more to the plan, or is that more or less it?
yeah, the one thing that I haven't mentioned is you want to check your analytics weekly as well. And I do a more in-depth check-in with my analytics monthly, but just doing like a quick little check-in with your analytics. And it's really important to do that, because if you're not checking your analytics, how do you know if something's working or not? So you could potentially be getting more leads, more sales, that sort of thing. If you know what's working, you can give people more content of what they're really wanting. Like, if you find that people are liking and commenting on certain types of posts or content, give them more of that. If you find that something's lukewarm, nobody's really bothering with it, then don't post that as much. So, or not at all. So that's really what you want to do. You might be leaving money on the table if you don't check your analytics, because you're just spending too much time in one area or another. So that's another thing that I always do. And remember, some of these tasks don't always have to be done by you. If you're a solopreneur, like I've done all of this stuff for myself and for multiple clients, so I know it can be done. But if you have an assistant or someone that works with you, there's some of this stuff that you can, give them to do, like checking the analytics, scheduling the content and things like that. I highly encourage people to do their own engagement, though, unless you have somebody that is a skilled person that can talk on your behalf. I would encourage you to do your own engagement if possible. So that's the one thing that I always recommend.
And I like how this the way that you've explained this. You separated the content from the engagement out, and so that sounds like a perfectly viable solution for someone to outsource the big guns, right? Outsource all that content, and then all they have to do is that little bit, those few minutes a day of going out and liking and sharing things, so that way they get all those benefits, but they only have to put a few minutes a day into that.
Exactly. And I'm sure everyone has noticed, like, wow, this guy seems to be everywhere online. Like, how does is he spending like 14 hours a day online? No, they just schedule content ahead of time, right? So that's how they do it. Sometimes people have social media managers like me, but even then, I always encourage my clients to pop in themselves and go online. Now, I'm a skilled ghostwriter, so I can, if I spend a lot of time watching my clients' videos, reading their content, really researching their voice before I attempt to post for them online, because people will smell a rat right away. If you just have somebody posting stuff on your behalf and it doesn't sound like you, people will know. So you have to be really careful of that.
Okay, I mean that's good to know. And so you mentioned, we mentioned at the beginning of our talk that you have the thing called the social media kindergarten, and you've also mentioned that you have some kind of a done for you package as far as people's social media. So can you sort of tell us about those things and tell us about what it is that you do?
Yes, absolutely. So my company, Crush Marketing Group, you can check me out a little bit more at crushmarketinggroup.com. And I do have a course called Social Media Kindergarten. Unfortunately, I've just taken it offline, but it'll be available shortly here in the new year. I'm revamping it. As you can imagine, social media changes very quickly, and so I'm just giving some updates, and I'll be re-releasing it. And so that's going to be really exciting. So keep tuned on that. If you sign up on my crushmarketinggroup.com page, you're going to get some free gifts. And I'll also keep you informed as to when the new social media kindergarten comes out. And this is really for business owners and I've had people go through it that are brand new to social media and people that are very experienced in social media. And everybody has learned something new that they didn't know before and got a lot of great tips from it. So it's really for new people, but even if you're not new, you're still going to find a lot of great tips. So, and then I also do a done for you service where I actually come in and take over your social media. We also do blogging. We build funnels, email funnels, and all of that kind of thing. So, and that's kind of the last part of what I want to wrap up with is that sometimes people think that social media is kind of like a magic bullet, that that's going to be the thing that's going to save their business. And it's something that takes a little bit of time. It's just like networking. You wouldn't expect to walk into a networking meeting and in the first 5 minutes sell somebody something. It does happen, but it's not common. And so you want to build those relationships and take them to the next level. And how we do that is by building our email list online. And so offline, you could book a coffee meeting or whatever. You can do that online as well. I book lots of meetings, Skype meetings, and that sort of thing from my online networking. And but how we do it normally is we send people to an offer, and that can be a sales offer, it can be a free gift, some way to get people to your email list. And that's really your goal. Social media, you're creating relationships and using it as a traffic source to promote your content and get people signed up onto your email list. So that's really the gist of how I use social media and what's been effective for me and my clients. And so typically the done for you client is going to be somebody who's been in business for a little bit longer. They have some content. They're usually operating at the six-figure and higher level, and we can go in and start taking over and really pumping them up to the next level.
Awesome. So if people want that offer, if people want to chat with you and figure out how you can be a fit with each other and figure out like what exactly you can do for them with social media, where should they go to contact you about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do offer a strategy session if you want to get in touch with me regarding that, and we can go through and see what your needs are. And my email address is debbie@crushmarketinggroup.com. And again, you can just go to crushmarketinggroup.com and check out. I've got lots of free content there and blog posts and articles, and you can sign up for various things as well. So.
Awesome. So lots of good stuff to check out. And so if you guys want to contact Debbie directly about this done for you thing, the email address is debbie@crushmarketinggroup.com. And then to check out all of Debbie's great advice and her blog and her freebies and her resources and social media kindergarten, and when it comes back, the place to go check that out is crushmarketinggroup.com. And so thanks so much for stopping by today, Debbie. And I think that, as far as a lot of the social media stuff is concerned, like you've kind of alluded to, it's really easy to do a lot of the wrong things or get off track or waste a lot of time. And I like a lot of the step-by-step plan you've laid out where it has a lot of important things built in, right? Like the limiting of time is built in, the course correction, checking the analytics is built in, the getting all these things in place in a short amount of time by doing the scheduling and the HootSuite, it's all built in. So it sounds like everyone should listen to today's episode at least 2 or 3 times if they felt like they've ever spent too much time on social media, or if they feel like their social media is not giving them the results and the traffic and the sales and stuff like that that they want. And so thanks for coming by, Debbie, and everyone should go right now to crushmarketinggroup.com.
It was my pleasure, Robert. Thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. Aren't WordPress sites great? You can click a button and create your site. No FTP, coding, or designing required. Want to change the look and feel of your site? Click a button. Want to add plugins for better search rankings, faster load times, custom CSS, headers and footers, added security, pop-ups, email capture, and more? But there's a problem. WordPress sites go out of date. WordPress plugins go out of date. Do you remember your passwords for every site? Do you remember where all your sites are? Do you have time to log in to each and every site to update? I didn't think so. There's a better way, and it's called Website Remote. Website Remote is the tool you'll use to monitor all your sites, click a single button to update everything, and log into any of your sites without a password. Get started with your 99-cent trial right now at websiteremote.com/trial.